Well, everybody, welcome back to the channel, and we have an exciting book today. It's going to be one that I don't normally do, and it's one personally that I've been trying to expand the horizons a little bit, and so definitely stepped into sci-fi a little bit more than I normally do. But very popular book right now, definitely one of the top books on most of the book ratings, and it's going to be actually the first book here, Red Rising. Again, very popular, very much in all of the booktube and book talk discussions. And I wanted to give it a read to kind of see what all of the hype was about. And let me tell you, it very much, to me, was an enjoyable read. If you enjoy happy endings and your character is having a nice life, maybe don't pick this one up expecting that. But if you want to pick up a book expecting to feel with your main character, to really embrace the cause, the rebellion, as we'll sort of find here, and you want to find a story that keeps you legitimately captivated from the first page to the last page, check out book one of the Red Rising trilogy entitled Red Rising. Now, what is this book about? Well, there's four parts to the book, and the first part is really introducing you from the main character's perspective, Darrow, depending on how you're going to pronounce it, but Darrow is how I read it in my brain. Darrow, and he is on the planet of Mars. Now, again, pretty interesting situation in the sense that he is underground Mars, and he is part of the red caste system. There's castes based off of colors. The golds are at the top, the reds are at the very bottom. There's different colors in the middle. Right above the reds are the grays, and they're essentially managers. So they're making sure that the reds are staying busy, staying working. And what are they doing? Well, they are digging and mining for a specific gas that is going to be used to terraform Mars so that it can sustain human life. So again, this is set in our solar system, our world, with our history, and they're trying to terraform Mars. The reason why the reds are the ones doing the work, and for instance, the grays and the higher colors like pinks and others, up all the way up to gold. The reason why they're not is that the higher colors are of a softer disposition. Their nature is not as strong and as rugged as the reds, so they are chosen to do this hard work. Well, in order to keep them on task, they have a competition in which the different clans of reds on Mars are competing and trying to collect the most gas and receive what they call the laurel. And if you win the laurel for your clan, you get more food, you get more possessions, you get better accommodations, living accommodations, and things of that nature. And so that's really where we find Darrow and his clan, which is filled with a lot of his personal family. And his job is a hell diver. He's the one that is going down really at the tip of the spear underground. He has to wear very weather protected suits for heat, as well as other protections that he'll need. And he's called a hell diver. And so again, he's the one diving down with the drill, digging under the earth to try to tap into these gaseous veins. And things are going well when we first get to the book and the first several chapters. But unfortunately, it does not take long for things to go wrong. Now, before we continue on here, I am not going to narrate the end of the story. But we're going to talk through some significant spoilers here. So if you haven't read it yet, please go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. But again, know what you're getting into. This is a story of life or death. And there are some serious stakes here. So we good? All right, let's get back into it. Everything goes wrong when Darrow and his clan do not win the laurel. And things begin to compound. He's frustrated about that. More so than that, though, he finds out that his wife is connected to and involved in an actual caste system rebellion in which she is working with other people. There's this sort of mysterious rebellious group called the Sons of Ares, and he finds out that she has some connections to this group. And when the Greys find out about it, again, their manager, she's arrested. And more than that, she is sentenced to be killed, to be hung to death. And so again, this all happens, and the reader here, we're shocked. Surely this is not it absolutely is. And that feeling that I just conveyed there of surely this is not, and then it happens, that's the entirety of the book. Okay, you kind of meet characters, you get accustomed to a situation, and then everything changes. Pierce Brown, again, he does this entire book. You feel like you're just sort of getting reacclimated to wherever you're at, and boom, the whole thing changes. It's an interesting way to tell a story because, in a sense, you're connected to the characters, specifically Darrow. However, the thing that you're most connected to, I think, is the cause. And that kind of becomes the thing that you realize that there's going to be loss that's experienced. And you just keep moving with it. Well, sure enough, his wife is killed, hung to death. And he sort of loses the will to live. And so he does a few things like cut down his wife's dead body, which again, he gets arrested for. And he gets sentenced to be hung. His family that's there, specifically his uncle who's a drunkard, he comes to see him before he dies. They have like a last drink together. And then the next day he's going to the gallows. He doesn't really care, right? Everything that he's thought he was living for, his family and the future of his clan, he just feels like it's worthless. So he goes up, noose around his neck, pull the lever, and everything goes black. Okay, and that's where part 1 ends. So again, if I have interested you haven't read it, you're this far, maybe go read it now, because part 1 is so fast-paced. Part 2, though, we get to it, it's called Reborn. Shocker of all shockers, Darrow wakes up from his hanging, which doesn't feel like it's possible, and obviously it would not be. Something has happened. And he is woken, and he is with a group of people that he quickly deduces are the Sons of Ares. Okay? And so they let him know that his uncle, who was a drunkard but really was playing a part, had drugged Darrow before he was hung and was able to fool the Greys into thinking he was killed. So they let him know that he has been saved for a purpose and there is a rebellion and he needs to get on board with it. And in order to prove this to him, they take him into a lift and they begin going up in this elevator all the way to the surface of Mars, where the Golds had told them, of course, they don't see Golds hardly ever, but the messages that had come from Earth from the Golds was that this was going to be a long process. This is going to be something that is going to take generations. They get to the top, and sure enough, the surface of Mars is not red, it's not desolate, it's actually full of life. And people are walking around, living, breathing. Darrow realizes, so the Sons of Ares communicate to him that the Golds had lied and that Mars has been terraformed for hundreds of years. And these generations of Reds that have been killed in this gaseous, dangerous, life-destroying work have just been enslaved and they've been lied to. That's enough to get Darrow in the fight. And so something that they've decided going to be the way that they're going to infiltrate the Golds and try to tear down the system from the inside is to have Darrow undergo essentially personality shifting, physical altering surgery. And the Golds, you kind of begin to find out the Golds are kind of like superheroes. They have extreme strength. They've been bred for so long to really be kind of superhumans. And for him to be able to undergo this excruciating process where he is going to be turned into a Gold and have to learn the custom, learn how they speak, but he needs to have this physical transformation. Well, he does it, and when he wakes up, the long process, he is a fully functioning Gold now. And so he enters this academy, essentially, is what it's going to be. And he's going to be taking some tests to hopefully be drafted into this, essentially, this prestigious academy. The Golds don't necessarily just call themselves by colors. The culture that they've created is called the Society. So Darrow is able to get registered for these entrance exams. And sure enough, Darrow is very, very intelligent. The life that he has lived has forced him to not just develop physical strength, but smarts and quick thinking and quick reactions. He does so well on this entrance exam that they think he's cheated. He misses one question on this entrance exam. He's, of course, admitted into the academy. And when they have house draftings, think Harry Potter being sorted into houses, exactly kind of the same thing. These house members draft sort of the freshmen or the rookies into their houses. He's actually drafted 10th overall out of about 1,200 new cadets. And so he makes a few friends through this introductory portion of life. He kind of really begins to think, maybe it's just a certain kind of gold that's the problem. Maybe these can actually be changed. Maybe I can win them over to the cause to help them understand what the Reds are experiencing. Well, part 3 begins, and he wakes up one night, and he is essentially captured. And there's a cover thrown over his head. He's dragged through the midst of like the school, which is kind of like a castle, and he's uncovered, and he finds that there's someone in this room that he's been shoved in and locked in. And the sort of a voice comes over, essentially letting them know that this is called the passage, and only the strongest can survive. And so there's one ring in the middle of this room, and there's 2 people in the room. You're probably seeing where this is going. They have to kill the other person in order to be able to be let out of the room and officially join the house that drafted them, right? And so the problem becomes that the individual in Darrow's room is a person that he had befriended. And so, again, this is a very difficult part to read, to sort of get through. But what's going to happen is Darrow is going to end up killing his friend, the one who, he was close with, had befriended him, taking the ring and moving on. He realizes, no, the golds are everything that I thought they were. And though I've made some friends along the way, that doesn't matter. This system needs to be overthrown. And so after the brutal killings in the passage, there are only 50 remaining members of each house. And then the book's going to shift. Again, we're moving. And the next step of this process is going to be a sort of a massive arena with castles and forests. I mean, it is absolutely massive. And I mean, take days to walk from one side to the other. And there's nature, and there's animals, and there's trees, and again, castles. And all of the houses, who remain 50 in each house, they have their own castle, and they have their own standard, which is essentially like a flag, a totem for each house. And the next goal is going to be the house that is going to win this competition is going to be the house that unites all the other houses under their standard, under their banner. And they're told that they should only be killing if it's absolutely necessary. So kind of think the Hunger Games here, right? Only it's not the last that's alive. It's the one who is essentially the leader of his or her house and all the people who have sort of sworn fealty to them. Well, there's no set person who's in charge of each house. They have to figure that all out themselves, right? And so when they essentially blow the horn to say go, you can imagine all of the inner turmoil, the strife, the bickering, the vying for authority. And immediately the house that Darrow has been drafted into, which is actually called House Mars, though not Mars the planet, just House Mars, essentially kind of like 4 groups stir up out of those 50. And probably same for the other houses. Well, they just try to win each other over by talking, by offering deals. They have to go out and scavenge and forage and survive, all by learning where the other houses are at. Essentially, it's a full-on fledged survival mode, right? And through deception, alliances, betrayals, and ultimately a bloodthirsty murder, Darrow is, though he begins to win people over, he's betrayed. And actually a person who was his friend learns that the man that he killed in the passage was his brother. And Darrow had lied to him because he knew that they had a family relationship in House Mars, and he lets him think that someone else murdered him. Well, his brother figures it out. He was one of the leaders who supported him and said, no, we're following you, Darrow. He learns that Darrow's actually the one that killed his brother, attacks him, leaves him for dead. And that's really where part 3 ends. I mean, every part of this book is boom, boom, boom. And so part 4, it's called Reaper. And this is where I'm going to kind of stop my play-by-play because the end of the book, I'll let you get there regardless. Of course, we've talked through a lot, but really, I'm not going to spoil the ending for you. Well, Darrow is found, and he's nursed back to health by a girl named Mustang, who he had allowed to survive earlier in the arena. He could have killed her, had his people kill her. He chose to show her mercy. And so the two form an alliance, and they begin now this monumental task of trying to reorient themselves in the arena, recognize that everyone is probably out to get them, not just all the other houses, but their houses as well. And they begin the task of winning allies through respect and honor. And so again, that's part 4. That sets you up for the conclusion. Of course, it's a trilogy. So book 1 is here, Red Rising. It's such a fast-moving book. Again, I can't explain to you. You think you know what's happening. He moves on, and you just go, okay, we're just along for the ride. So read it, enjoy it. It'll keep you engrossed. And let me know, how do you feel about books that are, well, I'll just say it, they struggle with morality? I mean, you have things like The Hunger Games. You have books like, stories like Spartacus, an old story, right, where friends have to kill one another to survive. How do you feel about these types of stories? What type of emotions does it bring up for you? I'd love to know. Have you read Red Rising? I'm excited to get into book 2. And so I will certainly be reviewing it. But thank you so much for tuning in. Check out Red Rising. Let me know what you think about it. And we'll see you on the next video.